Well, hey there, Changemakers. Welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. I'm your host, Amy Van Meel, and I'm here to inspire and teach changemakers like you, entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, and people who are doing big things in the world, some tips, tricks, things about business, and we're doing some personal growth on the way. With that, let's dive into today's topic. Well, hey there, Changemakers. Welcome to the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. I trust you're having a fantastic day, whatever it is that you're doing. I'm pumped that you're here with me today. I always love having you listening in on the podcast. I mean, it just makes me feel so good. So thanks for joining me. And just a shout out to whatever it is that you're doing today. I hope you're enjoying it to the full. All right. Today, I'm excited to talk with you about a biz tip. Today, we're talking the Great Card Exchange. We're going to talk about the 101 on business cards, friends. That is what we're talking about today. So, there is a number of things to consider and think about when it comes to business cards. We're going to touch a little bit in terms of the design of the card. This episode is not about like designing business cards, but I want you to know a couple of things. But more what I want to talk with you about today is the exchange of cards. So who do you give it to? How do you ask for one? How do you say no when someone asks you for yours? These are big things, and they can be socially awkward in a way. So we're going to talk on them today because I want you to really be prepared when you're out at events or, wherever it is, wherever you're meeting people, so that you feel like you can, you've totally got this, right? We're all about being effective and smart and just like confident business owners. So that's what we're here about. So first of all, I want to talk about this. I love this. Before getting ready for this episode, I always make myself some notes so that I don't end up on a rampage. Sometimes I still do, but I do my best for you guys. And I went to Google and I Googled, what is the purpose of business cards? Now, you're going to love this. Here it is. They are effective networking tool for professionals and also serve as a promotional tool for a business or company division. A compelling design with the right combination of color and images helps you optimize these advantages when sharing your card. Are you asleep yet? I mean, how boring is that? Basically, what they're saying is it's a networking tool, which I suppose it is, but here's the nuts and bolts of it. A business card is an easy source for retrieving contact information. That's what it is. Now, you do want to bear in mind, so here's a little bit of the design tip when it comes to business cards. In last week's episode where we talked about you being your number one marketing tool, if you haven't had a listen, I encourage you to listen after this episode. But we talked a little bit about brand. And when it comes to brand, there's a communication, like a visual communication. So in terms of like your colors or your fonts, etc., you know what it is. So there is some of that. So you want to bear that in mind when you're putting together your business card or having someone design it for you. But basically, a card it's a tool of communicating your contact information. That's literally all it is. Now, I suspect that I'd be actually really curious to watch in a couple of years if we still have business cards, because technology is advancing so quickly. There's almost no reason, I feel like, at some point for a business card. But we'll see. Who knows? I've been wrong before. I could be wrong again. I can guarantee you at some point I'll be wrong again. But I want you to think about your business card as it's a simple communication device. It's just intended to give someone else your contact information, right? So when you're designing your business card, this is super key. Please pay attention to this. Use both sides of the card. I know that sounds simple and probably so obvious, but I still see to this day cards where there's only something on one side, or they try to cram a ton of information on one side of the card, or just too much information on the card in general. Now, if you're thinking, Amy, I want the back to be blank so I can write things in, No, your card is not for writing things in. Your card is purely for giving your contact information. The only time that is not the case is if it's an appointment reminder card, which is kept where? In your office, right? It's not for communicating your contact information. It's for reminding people of their appointments. That's it. Those are not the same as a business card, so I want you to keep that in mind. So use both sides of it. What can that look like? Well, on one side, you're going to have your contact information, clear, concise, easy to read. This is something that I had to remind myself of because when I started, I was younger. My eyes were younger, but a lot of my clients were a little bit older. So I thought that it was clear and easy to read. And then I had a couple of friends look at it and they're like, Amy, I can't read this. It's, you got to bear in mind that some of our eyes are older. So think about that. You want to make it clear and easy to read. If you're not sure if it is, just run it by someone. Okay. So basically, I just want you to make it like simple, effective. It's just a communication device. That's it. Now, I will say this is the last note I'll make in terms of like the design of the card. Either have a correct card in the sense that your phone number is correct, your email address is correct, your web address is correct, whatever it is. Have the information correct or leave it at home and bring a Post-it and pen. You might be thinking, why would I bring a Post-it and pen when I have a business card? In my mind, I might be a bit of a stickler on this, but in my mind, there is very few things that are less professional than when you get a business card that's either had, been whited out because they've had to rewrite the new email address in or a new phone number, or they cross it out while they're standing there and say, no, that's the wrong number. Have the correct information on the card. Now, when you're starting, I understand that when you're starting, you might be using what you have. So print small batches of cards. It is okay to start with like 50 cards. Don't start looking at like, well, it's cheaper if I print 500. I'll tell you what isn't cheaper is that if you change your contact information 25 cards in and you need to toss out 475 cards, that is not cheaper. It's also not environmentally friendly, so don't do it. So have the information correct. And like I said, if you're just getting started, then print small batches. And the one thing that I will say in terms of, I'm going to say this specifically around email, because that is one that seems to change quite frequently for lots of people. When I started my design business many years ago, I started with my personal email address because that's what I had. And about 6 to 8 months down the road, I got my professional email address, which meant that I was printing new cards, which was fine. But what that does is it creates a little bit of a confusing situation in terms of your contacts if they have you saved as one email address and now you're communicating out of another. So I know with Gmail, like it's $5 a month or something to have a personalized email address. So I would say just, go that route, do it right away, and it just makes it so much easier down the road. All right. That's it in terms of the design of the card. So I hope that was helpful. We're now going to get into the card exchange. This is where I see so many entrepreneurs struggling, falling down, doing it wrong, having no idea what to do. So first of all, we're going to talk about who do you give it to. Now you might be thinking, Amy, I'm just going to give it to whoever asks, but this is what I want you to think about. You are going to give your card to someone you are building a relationship with. That's it. That's the only person who gets your card. Now, you might be thinking, like, Amy, are you talking about someone who wants to date me? No. So my guy and I love to watch the Murdoch Mysteries. Hands up if you watch the Murdoch Mysteries either on CBC or on Netflix. I don't know if it's in the States. It's a Canadian TV show. I love it. It's basically a detective series set in like 1898. And in the series, everybody has these personal calling cards, right? So those cards are intended for, dating or whatever. That is not what today's business cards are about. Today's business cards are about building business. They're just essentially, like I said, they are a contact information tool. That's all they are. So when I talk about building a relationship, I'm talking about building a relationship in your business. In the last episode, like I said, I want you to have a listen, but I talk about why it's so important to focus on relationships. And we're going to take that just like one step further in today's episode, because you only need to have the contact information of someone who you actually want to continue building a relationship with. If there is nothing there for you guys to continue any future contact, don't ask for the card, period. So let's talk about what to do if you are asked for your card. I found this one super awkward, and I'll tell you, it takes a little bit of practice to kind of feel a bit more comfortable with this. And even then, it may not be the most comfortable. But when you're asked for your card, I want you to ask yourself this. What will this person do with it? Are they actually interested in me or my business? Or are they only interested in collecting and building their email list? I can't tell you how often this happens especially at networking events, not so much at like social gatherings, but networking events especially. It's like people, I don't know where their brains go. But anyway, we're not going there today. So I see people they'll march around the room, they'll walk up to groups of people, they won't even like wait for a break in the conversation. They'll just jump in and be like, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. Here's my card. Can I have yours?" Like, to what end? I mean, you don't know who this person is. What are they going to do with your card? I promise you it's not to give you anything of value. My guess is probably what they're going to do is take your card and put you on their email list without your permission. Thank you very much. That is not allowed. Don't do it. If you're doing that right now, stop it. I'm slapping you with my ruler. Stop it. So if someone asks you for their card and like if it's like this person who just marched up to you, just politely say, "No, thank you," or "No, that's okay," or, whatever. Come on. I will talk about how to say no in a moment. But you want to really think about what this person is actually asking you for your card for. Does that sentence make sense? I hope so. The other thing that you can ask yourself is, do I want to encourage contact with this person? So you might have a conversation with someone and, they might think you're getting along great and you are just like, you're watching the paint peel off the walls. You're trying to find a graceful exit to the conversation. And then they're like, "Oh, before you leave, can I grab your card?" Right? So think about when someone asks you for it, think about why they're asking you for it, and would you like for them to continue conversation or contact with you? All right, that's what to do if you're asked for a card. Before you ask for a card, I want you to pay attention. You need to be able to answer this clearly. Do I have a clear reason for requesting their card that is not self-serving? So, like I said, we're all about building relationship here, and a business card is purely a means of sharing contact information. So when you're requesting a card, there needs to be a reason behind it, and it cannot be so that you can email them all the stuff that you want to talk about or your latest blog post or podcast episode or newsletter. Like, that's not what it's about. When you ask someone for their contact information, it should never be self-serving. All right? I want to make that very clear. Business is about building relationship. That's what we're here for. You want to be thinking about, what's in it for them. So if you have a clear reason for requesting their card, again, that's not self-serving, you're like, okay, this is why I'd like to maintain contact with this person, then here's how you can ask for a card. One of them might be, "I'd love to connect for coffee to carry on this conversation. May I have your card and I'll email you to set up a time?" If they say no, be okay with it. But you'll know. I mean, there's a natural progression to conversations, and if for whatever reason, one of you needs to leave early or what have you, then you'll know that you want to maintain contact. So that's one way you can ask for a card. Now, in the previous episode, I talk about, being an active participant in conversation. So what might come up in your conversation is that you can fill a need of theirs. So maybe they're looking for a great plumber, or they need an accountant, or what have you, and you know someone who would be really good for them, or who could be, a potential business partner, whatever it is for them. So this is what you would say if you're responding to a need of theirs that has come up in the conversation. "If you would like, I know a fantastic XYZ, and I'd be happy to connect you. May I have your business card?" Or, "May I have your contact information?" You're being very clear about what you're wanting their card for. You want to connect them with someone that they can benefit from, right? So be very clear. That's why I say before you ask for a card, you do need to know that you have a clear reason for requesting their information, and it can't be a self-serving one. So it is not about you, building your email list. Now, if you're going to say, don't ever, but if this is in your mind or if you've used this before, I'm building my email list and I think you'll benefit from what I have to say. Can I have your card? Do not do that. I will come through the speakers and smack you upside the head. That is a totally self-serving question. You are not asking about what they want. You are not saying, how can I benefit you? All you're saying is, I think I'm the bomb. I think that you can learn a lot from me, and I think that I'm going to send you all the information I can. So you might be wondering, well, Amy, how can I share their information? If they've indicated an interest with what you're talking about, like I have people that are like, Amy, I love your podcast, or I think it's really cool. Where can I find it? I will tell them where they can find it. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on iTunes. You can whatever. If they're not like super tech savvy or whatever, and they're like, can you email it to me? Then and only then will I say, sure, if you like, I can add you to the email list and then you'll get the email every week, right? But I always ask them. I'm never, ever going to add them to the list just because I think they could benefit from them. That's it. So in the conversation, if it's come up that I think that they could, that they might find a lot of value in the podcast or in the side of my design business in the blog posts that I put out, then I can let them know, I actually touched on that topic on my podcast episode number, 12, whatever it is. You can go have a listen to it here. If they're interested and they want to know more, but they're not in a position to sign up or whatever, then and only then will I offer to share the information with them. Okay? I want that to be very clear. This is not about self-serving. I cannot say this enough. Business is about building a relationship. So keep always in mind, how is this benefiting the other person? You take a back seat in this particular exchange. Understood? Okay. Now, we've talked about how to ask for a card. I want to just touch briefly on how to give a card. Again, Jenny, who popped into the conversation, said, hey, I'm Jenny. I do this. I think I'd like to, work with all of you guys, and here's my card. That's not how you give a card, because do you know what happens to that card? It ends up in the garbage. That's where it goes. So before you give a card, again, you're always validating that they actually want to have your contact information. So you could say something like this. You mentioned that you know a great XYZ. This is where a need of yours has come up in a conversation and they mentioned that they might know someone. Here's my contact information. Would you mind introducing me to him or her? So you're giving your card. They may not have thought at the moment, oh, I should ask for her card so I can put them in contact. But and again, it can't be totally self-serving here. So if they're like, oh, my friend is like the CEO of Nexon Energy. There's one of our businesses here in downtown Calgary is Nexon Energy. My friend is the CEO of Nexon Energy. And you've been thinking, boy, I really would like to get into C-suite people. There still needs to be a benefit. And you can be very upfront. You can say, look, I know my product or my service, it has been super beneficial to C-suite executives, and I would like to get in touch with a few more of them. Now, you mentioned that you know so-and-so at Nexon Energy. Do you think that they might be interested in this? And if so, would you mind introducing us? That is totally okay. Yes, it's self-serving in a way, but you're not pushing yourself on them, right? You've asked them ahead of time, do they think that this would be of benefit to the other person, and are they comfortable introducing you? It's, as well as I do, it is always better to have a warm introduction than to just cold call someone. It's so much better, there's way more value on it, way more weight to who you are when someone introduces you for you, right? But you also want to be respectful. You don't ever want to put someone in a position that they feel like they've just been used. No used car salesman here, guys. I feel like I don't need to say that, but I'm going to say it anyway because I just want to be clear. So that's how you can give a card. So we're gonna wrap this up, and today's may not be that long, which is good. I like to keep things a little bit shorter for you guys, and I want to talk about how to say no. This is so tough. Now, if you're of, I'll say, Eastern European roots, this may not be so hard for you. I've met some people who are Eastern European, then they have no problem saying no, and it's just like, what the? You can't just say that, Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But in North America, we tend to be overly polite, is what I'll say. We want to be kind. We want to be gentle. We don't want to be jerks and assholes, right? That's not what we want to be. So this is often for us North American born and raised. I mean, I know I'm Dutch in my roots, but I am North American born and raised, which means that I come with all of the mannerisms and, social niceties that we have being born here. So you might be struggling in how to say no. So if someone comes up and just says, well, can I have your card? Or you've been having a conversation, but you don't really see any reason to maintain contact. Remember, the whole point of a business card is to maintain contact. It's just your contact information. And someone says, I'd really love to have your card. You can just ask them, may I ask why you'd like my card? If they don't have a valid reason, if they're just like, well, I would love to get together for coffee or whatever, then just be polite. You can say, I'm sorry. You can make up an excuse. I'm all out, or I just gave my last one away, or just say, you know what? I've had a lovely conversation with you, but I don't think that there's a benefit that I see for us to build a relationship going forward. You can be polite about it. You don't have to be a jerk about it, but I mean, if you're really uncomfortable with it, you want to give your card away, I mean, it's up to you. I'm not there saying, okay, you can't give it to this person, but here's a little tip for you. This will make you super specific about who you give a card to. The next time you go to any particular networking event, bring only 2 or 3 business cards, period. I promise you, it will make you extremely discerning over who you give your information to. And I saw this is really cool. I was at an event, and this is almost a year ago, where we get a lot of people from, I don't want to say immigrants because I feel like that's the wrong word, but people that move here from other countries. I mean, they are immigrants, but it's not meant to be derogatory at all. So people who are moving here from somewhere else, they're making a fresh start. Right? They need to meet new people. They need to build new connections. I totally get it. But sometimes in their enthusiasm to build their network, they're not thinking about it as a way of building relationships. They're only thinking, I want to meet as many people as possible because I need a job, or I need connections, or I need whatever it is. So this is a perfect example. There was a young man that had just moved from, I can't remember where, and there was a person at the event, and I just happened to be standing next to them. So that's the only reason why I overheard the exchange. But she worked at the local university or something, I think, and he asked her if he could add her to LinkedIn. I would really love to be a LinkedIn connection with you. And she just said very clearly and very simply, I'm sorry, but I reserve my LinkedIn connections for people who are in my industry. Period. And it was because it was so clear, and it was a non-negotiable. He wasn't insulted. He wasn't upset. It was just simple and clear and to the point. You can also say, I only give my information out to those I see building business together with, but thank you so much for asking. So add that little bit at the end to soften the blow in a way. But you're being clear. You know what? I don't see any reason for us to remain in contact. Has nothing to do with you personally. That's not what you're saying here. But thank you so much for the kindness of asking. That's it. I mean, you'll leave them feeling, it'll be way later when they go, oh, well, why wouldn't they want to remain in contact, right? Because what they're thinking is, oh, well, that's so nice. You're very welcome. I'm glad that I did ask. It'll be a little while before they realize, oh, I never really did get what I wanted. Okay? So there's a way to say no that doesn't make you come across as a jerk, and that also doesn't leave you feeling like either someone who's a liar or whatever. You can just be clear, concise, and honest, but always end it with a little bit of kindness. I think that, especially if you're in North America, softens the blow. All right, so those are tips on the great exchange. And I just have some final thoughts for you here. So we talked about how to say no. Be okay with saying no and with hearing no. If you've asked someone for a card because you think that that could potentially be a great relationship for like the two of you, mutually beneficial, and they say, no, I'm sorry, I would rather not, then be okay with it. It's not a personal slight. And here's the thing. Thank them. You may have to be like, thank you so much for saving me the effort. But internally say, you know what? Thank you so much for knowing who you are, knowing what you want, whatever, and not wasting my time trying to build a relationship where there will not be one. Boy, does that not totally change the whole way that you look at it all of a sudden? So it's okay with saying no, and it's okay with hearing no. It clarifies and it defines that bullseye that you're going after, that market that you're going after. The other thing I want you to remember is your goal is not to collect as many cards as possible. If you're doing this, I'm begging you, please stop. Stop doing it. You're not there to build your Rolodex. And if you are doing this right now, if you are asking everybody for their business card and promptly adding them to your email list, stop doing it right now. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but with Canadian, I think it's the C-SPAN standards, with the European GDPR regulations, it's not okay. Now, I don't think there's regulations in place yet in the US, but I would not be surprised to see that those regulations are going to start becoming global. So be respectful of the people you're talking to, guys. Like, when you're asking for their card, you're asking to remain in communication, there must be a reason for it. Like I said, you always want to focus on the relationship. I'm bringing this mantra back from the last episode. Relationship first. Always focus on that, okay? You want to focus on, so if your goal is not to collect as many cards as possible, what are you focusing on? You're focusing on making 2 or 3 really good connections. And if there is a natural reason to continue contact, then ask for a card. It's as simple as that. So you just want to be cognizant of it. Don't give them away like condoms at a college party. Okay? Have some value in yourself and in your card. Otherwise, your card will end up in the recycling bin, which means you've paid, maybe it's only 5 cents a card, but do you really want that? Do you want that energy around you and your business that people don't see value in what you do, so you end up in the garbage bin? I don't think so. I know I sure don't. So just, have some value in yourself and in what you're doing and be okay with it, guys. Like I said, in business, you're going to get some no's. There's going to be some rejection. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you. Everything's fine. You're just narrowing who you're going to be focusing on. Yeah? All right. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope that you found this episode helpful, useful, informative. What I do want to say, if you want a few extra tips, I put together a really fantastic free download that I had on last week's episode, which ties in perfectly to today as well. And you can grab that free download by going to daretobegin.net/smart. So again, that's daretobegin.net/smart. That free download is all about your number one marketing tool, which I talked about in the last episode, but I added a few extra things in there which tie these 2 episodes together beautifully. So if you want to understand how to be smart about your marketing and tie it in with your business cards, I highly recommend you grab that download. I wish you a fantastic rest of the week. If you are listening on iTunes, please give me a review. It would make me feel oh so good if you do. If you're on Spotify, then feel free to share it out or follow me. And I'm just going to give one last, if you're on Instagrams, I'm often on the Instagrams, so you can find me at I Dare to Begin. All right. I wish you a phenomenal rest of the week, whatever you're doing, and I'm so looking forward to seeing you next week right here on the Dare to Begin Small and Mighty podcast. Bye for now.